The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Thank you for joining us, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Insights. I'm Bethany Rishardi, your new host, joined here today with Larry Clark, the president of South Bay, formerly known as Taking Pride in Alpena. Larry, tell us a little bit about where we're standing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come out on such a beautiful day today. We are so excited with what's going on with the project for US 23 South. I'd like to talk to your viewers today about quite a few different things that are happening. Maybe give a brief recap regarding the Beckett Rader Landscape Architecture Study that was just completed at the end of January. First of all, we're here today on the 23 South Corridor where we can look north here. And the kind of the crux of what they recommended and what we've always tried to do is to look for opportunities to revitalize the area here. And not only the roadway itself, but actually to change the culture and feel of the corridor from car-friendly to more people-friendly. And in planning terms, that's called placemaking, or creating a sense of place. And what that does basically is create an environment where people want to live and work and play and have various amenities right in the area so they don't have to get in their cars and drive everywhere. So in order to accomplish that, what they recommended was, first of all, creating some mixed-use housing. It would be to our north here, and also some to the south behind Worth Road, to the south of Worth Road. And what that means is it would be attached housing, like apartments and condominiums and maybe duplexes and things like that with little or no yard, because research states now that millennials and some older people just don't want the hassle of dealing with upkeep on a home, and particularly the yard. So that would be one portion of it there, north, and in south too. Secondly, creating an office park.
Okay.
And the office park would be really dynamic. It would be between Pearl Road and US 23 here in this area, and would also go south of Kmart here. And what that would be a place where we can attract some startup businesses, some young entrepreneurs, hopefully, that have a great idea, whether it be in technology or retail or whatever, and they can sort of seed their idea here in this area. And if we can secure a place like that, an office park, we can also work with MDOT and the U.S. Department of Transportation in applying for various grants to redo the roadway here. Because of the need for all those extra jobs and people living here at the mixed-use developments and different roadway considerations. Now, what Beckett Rader recommended for the roadway would be shrinking it down to 3 lanes. It's currently 5, putting in a median with trees and what's called Michigan left turns, so people can turn around and go in the opposite direction. It would also have sidewalks on either side of the road. It would have a bike path.
More pedestrian friendly.
Again, pedestrian friendly, that's right, with green lighting and trees. And it would just be a softer look. It would slow down the traffic so people can stop and look at the various shops along the way. In front of the businesses, we hope to urge or convince the businesses to put some landscaping where possible in front of their business, maybe move their parking to the side or the back, and that sort of thing. Also, complemented by service roads and everything you see in many towns across America at this point.
So you guys are using the SWOT analysis, so you're looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Do you want to talk a little bit about those findings?
I would love to. Some of the strengths that we have here include just look around.
Yeah.
I mean, the environment is just beautiful. We're very close to Thunder Bay and certainly Squaw Bay to the south. This is just a nationally recognized place for tourists to come, and it's been really heralded in the Pure Michigan campaign. We have 18,000 cars a day already coming by here. That's a significant amount of traffic. And more people enter Alpena from US 23 South than they do any of the three corridors.
Interesting.
So we have all that traffic coming in. We have a number of small and mid-sized businesses here already that offer unique offerings. We're not trying to compete with big box stores in other areas of town. We're trying to establish a place where consumers want to go for smaller and medium type, more people-friendly businesses too. So that's a significant part of it. But some of the things that are getting in our way a little bit is, again, the lack of pedestrian access here. The safety is a concern. There are crashes on the roadway. There's not an exorbitant amount, but there are some. And the pedestrian situation sometimes for the bike path, even in the wintertime, is not very good. The fact that it's all these overhead utilities and everything, we'd like to do something about that to clean it up. We'd like a more uniform sign ordinance, so the signs will look proportional to the area, and just continue with our cleanup efforts that began in 2013.
So do you think there's a high demand for these changes? What do you think Alpena could end up looking like if you guys didn't try and preserve the pedestrian access and, you know, the beautiful environment itself?
Well, we feel strongly, and it came out in the research that was done by Beckett and Rader, and also Michigan State University was here. Two groups. The last group of students was from urban and regional planning. It was their senior level practicum course. And what they found out was that if we don't do anything, that this area of town will kind of continue to look the way it is now. And there'll be new businesses come in, as they are already, but any major change here and any new growth spurt, if you will, is probably not going to happen just because of the excessive amount of excess speed from the traffic coming. There's really not a great place for pedestrians. There's very little housing here on the area, and it's very linear. So that really came out that to soften the look of the corridor and make it feel more like where people want to live and work.
So have you been able to really experience the changes yourself? Are you out helping with the highway cleanups and things like that, or what has your role really been?
Well, yes, I've been a part of the cleanups. We were out here last Saturday when it was temperatures in the 40s and it was kind of raw weather, so I'm out here with everyone else.
Awesome.
With a broom in hand, and in the summertime I'm working with Steve Plowman, and we're going to be doing some more painting up and down the corridor, some buildings and also some sign poles, and working with businesses to clean up some of their surroundings also.
Lots to do. It sounds great. Thank you, Larry. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we're going to have more. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Bethany Ricciardi, joined here with Larry Clark, the president of South Bay. We're currently at the 45th parallel. We were just talking about economic development down US 23, and this seems like the point for the gateway, right?
Yes, exactly. This will be the first stop that people come into. A lot of residents in Alpena live in Ossining and further south, so they're coming past this point, as well as the bulk of our tourists. Mentioning earlier that most of the cars coming into Alpena come in from US 23 South. So what they're going to see here, what we're envisioning, is going to be a full-size road observation area. Obviously the iconic 45th parallel, halfway between the equator and North Pole. What we're envisioning would be a pull-off area here with a viewing platform built on a boardwalk that would be overlooking the beautiful Squaw Bay.
Yeah.
And also there would be an informational kiosk or two that would talk about attractions in the whole area, the city of Alpena and all the area. Also some information about the shipwrecks that are here in Squaw Bay and all the way through Thunder Bay, and all the various opportunities for seeing the shipwrecks, such as the Glass Bottom Boat Tour. And also, but information also about the wildlife here. We have some egrets here today, and there's all kinds of birds and plant life that are unique to this area. So it would showcase that. It would be called what's called a node. Also, it would be a Welcome to Alpena sign here. So as you go further north and we start to get more into what we were just talking about with the corridor itself, to finish up on that discussion for a minute, there are numerous opportunities there for business growth that came out of the MSU findings. Particularly, they found a number of key industry segments that are underutilized in the US 23 South and in the area, where people are actually going outside the area to shop. And among those would be things like clothing, also clothing accessories, lawn and garden equipment and lawn and garden supplies, and various other businesses like that. That came out in the study that was just published recently. So all of this means that there is a demand for increased business activity on US 23 South in the short term as well. One of the innovative ideas they presented also is what's called a pop-up shop. So the existing vacant buildings that are there, young entrepreneurs, or any entrepreneur for that matter, can come in and put in a store, try out their concept. Let's say it's a bakery, or say it's a technological advance in some area. The theory being they can rent those for a small amount of money, see if their idea is going to float, and then move on from there to probably a permanent destination somewhere else, or maybe even in that location. So that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, just so much talk about growth in every aspect, and it seems like it's not just including the road itself, but more parks, like here at Squaw Bay and further out, you mentioned, right?
Yes, on over at the end, this is Partridge Point that we're looking at over here to the east. And there's another park being planned over there. The DNR owns 52 acres of land over there on the southeast tip of Partridge Point. And we were working with them to put in a small day-use park in that area, probably no more than 3 to 5 acres, a few picnic tables, maybe a shelter, and certainly a kayak launch to be able to launch into the bay and everything. Yeah, and the nice thing is that the DNR approached us just a couple of weeks ago after an inquiry of how soon we could get this implemented, and they are agreeable to doing the work of putting in or improving a driveway into the area yet this summer. If we can supply the gravel and the culvert for the driveway, they will supply the labor and the machinery. So we're going to be asking for donations for that, for materials and in-kind service work, and that's something that the community can take advantage of right away.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, how has funding been laid out? Are you applying for grants and different things like that?
Well, that's a great question. We raised $37,000 last year, but we spent it all on the planning work that's been done so far through Beckett and Rader, and a small amount to Michigan State University. So here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be announcing another funding drive, telling people where they can send money if they would like to help support the project. The first thing, or the next thing we're thinking about, would be to start accumulating funds for a bike path extension. The Alpena bike path runs up to Island Drive. We'd like to extend it to South Partridge Point. So that would be something very visible and something people could use in a couple of years even. And the next thing is just for various items that come up that we'll have funding available should we see an opportunity. A great point being what we're talking about with gravel and so on and so forth.
Right.
We can start to improve certain areas and take advantage of opportunities that come up quickly if we have the funding available.
Awesome. So there's a lot going on, lots to talk about. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back with Larry. Welcome back, everyone. So Larry, we're currently standing at one of the unmotorized paths, right? But your group has some future plans for it, I hear.
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. That's one of the key components of what we're looking at. We've talked about the economic development on US 23 South. We've talked about the parks around Squaw Bay. But another key part of this would be recreation in terms of non-motorized trails, or bike paths, some people call them. It came out in the study that there are great opportunities for essentially 3 areas. One would be a loop around Partridge Point, where we just were. Another would be another trail that would go up the east side of Lake Huron, just east of 23 here. And the other one would be extending our current bike path, which we're standing on today. It's called the Alpena Bike Path. It was started in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And our plan would be to extend it from its current terminus here at Island Drive all the way down to the new 45th Parallel Park.
Wow, so where we just were.
Where we just were, that's right. And in order to do that, several things need to happen. MDOT, the Michigan Department of Transportation, has what they call a Transportation Alternatives Program grant, which is earmarked for non-motorized trails, and another component could be scenic overlook, which we're also planning. That grant, we can write that possibly next spring. And also NIMCOG, the Northeast Michigan Council of Governments, has indicated they might be able to help us write a DNR grant, what's called a trust fund grant, for this project as well, for the extension of the Alpena bypass. And what that would do would be something very visible. It's something our citizens could use in a couple of years. But along with those two grants for the various projects, we'll also need to have a local match money. The granting agencies, whether they be federal or state, are going to want to see that, that the local government, in this case the township, and the citizens are working together to come up with match money or what's called in-kind services. So in-kind services would be people willing to donate materials or labor or that sort of thing toward the project.
How has it been working with the township? Are they a good partner in this whole transition?
Yes, they are. We've been working with them actively. We're at every township meeting, and there's a representative from the township that's heavily involved in our steering committee. So they are aware of all of our plans. We submit them for their approval as well, because they do require, of course, the local government to be involved. We're getting ready, though, to ask the township to take this project to the next level, which is to take more ownership of it, to really feel that, that it's part of their project for economic development and recreational amenities for their citizens of Alpena Township. We're going to be coming to the Township Board on June 6th with a request for the trustees to authorize a committee that could be formed with representatives from the Township, the City of Alpena, from us, from South Bay Steering Committee, and also a local expert, if you will, from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, who has experience in writing corridor improvement authorities, to help us come up with a plan that is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the township in that they get expertise and funding for maintenance projects that are going to be required on this endeavor in the future, but also for the project itself, because it needs funding, and it needs funding from local government. And establishing a TIF, or a tax increment financing plan, would be one way to do that. So we'll just get together, hopefully, and work out the details.
Awesome. So have you been able to really hear from residents in the community in their reactions to, you know, this overall project? And if there were some negative responses, how are you trying to ease those fears for people?
Well, that's a great question. We started our first public input sessions at the Alpena Mall in 2013, and we've had 5 since then. And we're actively involved with the citizens, because we want everybody to feel that this is our project. We want to be very transparent, and I think we have been. The media, of course, has been very good to kind of show what's happening and to cover what's going on. There are some concerns, as there is with any project of this size. This is some $28.5 million project potentially. And some of the early concerns that came out was some development along Partridge Point in the what's called the Alvar shoreline there, or the Partridge Point Park. We've worked with the residents actively. We've had meetings with them. They are invited to all the public input sessions. And I think we've worked out a plan, so we will only utilize about 4 or 5 acres in an area of that land that they can't see from their homes, and they'll still have their privacy there. The other thing that has come out, I believe, is concerns about the various types of roadway changes, such as roundabouts and some other things. And I really would like to try to assure the public again that when those were recommended by our landscape architect, Beckett and Rader, They were a conceptual study, only one of many different alternatives that could be considered in changing the culture of the corridor from car-friendly to pedestrian-friendly, just slowing traffic down so people will look at businesses and stop and shop, and making it safe for pedestrians as well. So roundabouts are only one thing. We are in no way suggesting that is what we're going to do. There's a lot more study that needs to be completed on that from MDOT, and ultimately it boils down to funding. If and when we can revamp the commercial corridor, what can we afford to do, and the traffic studies, what do they implicate, are the changes that need to be made there.
So we've covered a lot. We've even seen a lot of the area that you guys are working with, but what are some visions? What's the future looking like? When can people start maybe seeing some of these transitions?
Well, that's another great question. Everyone's anxious to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I think the first thing would be we're putting the finishing touches on use of the park on Partridge Point. Hopefully that will happen yet this summer. I believe it will. We're waiting on a permit from the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, to put in a couple culverts. So that's one thing. The second thing is rallying the community around the extension of the Alpena bypass here, as we're currently looking at. The third thing is we're working with the federal government too on various types of federal granting initiatives. There are a lot more dollars available at the federal level than there are at the state level. Things such as transportation improvement grants, or TIGER grants, we're looking at that. We're looking at another grant through the Economic Development Association, through one of our own natives. Lee Shuri is a regional representative for our area, and he's indicated interest in our project. So we are working on a number of different fronts to try to keep the ball rolling on economic development and those initiatives. A lot more planning needs to happen. We are also looking at Target Alpena is considering ways to maybe attract developers to the area, so we could possibly do an office park or some other type of major business where we could create some jobs right away. And then, of course, we've already talked about the Parks and Recreation. The Parks and Recreation will probably be the things that people see first.
Cool, very cool. It sounds like, of course, like we said, lots going on, lots to see, and great things for people to expect. I mean, is there anything else that you would like to mention about your experiences being with South Bay?
Well, there is one thing. You know, our project started out in 2012 as a cleanup effort to clean up the roadway and then to paint in 2013 during the summer. But this project has really gone a lot further since then. We envision this project to be an economic engine for all of Northeast Michigan. This is going to be a gateway project for Northeast Michigan, starting with a spectacular park at the 45th parallel, to a pedestrian-friendly shopping environment, to new jobs and new housing for people. And I think it's something we can all be very proud of. And I just want to thank Alpena because they've been so supportive, as has the media.
They're a great community.
And we're a great community. People endorse improvements like this. And the last thing is that we will be working with the public and make sure the public is aware of what we're thinking about and listening to their concerns and hopefully their stamp of approval on things too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Larry. I really appreciate you sharing your plans with us.
Okay, thank you, Bethany.
So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and please tune in next week for another episode of Insights.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.